Welcome to The Fall to Grace. I'm Cyan, and this is a podcast where my friend Connor and I hope to bring a grounded, practical approach to spirituality and mysticism. In this episode, we talked about how valuable it is to have relationships that are a little unexpected. We talk about community building, and overall, it's just a very casual, free-flowing conversation between Connor and I, so I hope that you can enjoy it, and if you feel inclined, please give us a rate and a review, and you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at The Fall to Grace. We love to answer any questions that you might send us, so please feel free to do so. And with that being said, let's get into the episode. Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about the apps again. Funny place we started both times at. What were we going to say, though?
We talked about the apps last time.
In the authenticity episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we don't fully understand. We as the consumers don't fully understand what the dating app algorithms are up to.
Well, they're just predicated on kind of the wrong thing. Like even an algorithm that like pairs very objectively similar people together isn't what a relationship dynamic is about. And like so much of the pursuit of relationships at that level is like looking for the same things. It's like, do they like hiking because I really like hiking? Or do they like going to live music because I really like going to live music? And you're like thinking about all the things that you could do together and like just have in common. And like we think common ground is the essence of relationships. And it's not. Like there are some weird relationships out there that click where the people do very different things and lead very different lives because it's far more about like their personalities and kind of how their souls interact. What you do is not what you need all the time. And so when we're kind of just out there dating and just going off of this, like, do they like the same things I like? Do we live similar lives? Like those relationships can end up being pretty empty down the line because they may have a bunch in common, but you may not have that, reciprocal kind of meeting each other's needs going on.
Mm-hmm. So how do you like kind of determine that someone would be a good fit? Or when does that happen, I guess? If you meet someone organically then and you don't use the apps.
You're looking for a connection. And connection is not, it's ineffable. It's not something that you're going to necessarily know why it's happening with a certain person. And this is like one of the benefits of getting out of your mind and kind of getting into your soul and getting into your feelings. Like the soul is more of a feeling and a sense and an intuition. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking for that when you're talking to people. Our mind wants to be able to explain why this person is good for me, why I'm attracted to this person. And that is kind of where we all operate. It's like, oh, I'm really attracted to her because she loves rock climbing and I love rock climbing. Like that's comfortable. But if we really just follow the connection, it gets a little weirder and we don't necessarily know what we're looking for. But we always want to just stay open, and just being open is the essence of attracting the things you want and being open to the answers to those things. So you can have these intentions and then you just kind of wait for the connection and you stay open and you talk to people and you don't judge as much as possible. But if you haven't done any of the shadow work and the sitting with yourself and all of these things, all you're going to do is just look for the things you have in common and just try to force that to work.
Yeah, but there's only so many hikes you can go on. You have to like live, even if you're not living in the same house, you have to live with each other as well.
And you got to be able to talk about your feelings and you got to be able to like build in a partnership and grow. The essence of most relationships is being able to grow into something. Like that's why the connection is so important. This person could be so many of these things that you might dislike on the mental level. Like they could just have quirks that you don't like. They could have a lifestyle that you don't like. But if you both have like a growth mentality, you'll be fine as long as the connection's there. And so the connection is the most important essence of any relationship, not just romantic ones, like friendships and all of these things. We can have some pretty bizarre relationships. We were talking about this, but like when you get rid of these roles and these models of who your friend should be and who your romantic partner should be and all of these things, the world gets a little bit weirder. You can be I'm friends with a bunch of 80 and 90-year-olds, right? Like those aren't a traditional friendship dynamic. And I have that in my life and I have great love for these people. They're not 35 years old and like me and do all the same things as me. And we just go to dinner and go to get drinks and all this stuff. No, they're 90 and I wheel them around sometimes. Like Like we open the world to different kind of dynamics in our lives. And that's what we want because the connection is what it's all about. I have a ton in common with some of those guys. And so we just relax into the openness and let the things happen more organically. But we can't do that if our mind's just looking for, I want attractive friends and I want athletic friends and I want whatever, right? I want spiritual friends. Like we get into all these different cages because our mind is trying to find the relationship that's right for us. It's treating it like it's a problem. It's not a problem. These things will come. We're connected beings. So if we're just open, we'll be okay.
It's so true. Some of my favorite people are just so different than I would have guessed these days, but it's really great to be open to those kinds of relationships. I would throw all of your preconceived notions about personality and the way people dress out the window and really just like see who you connect with. And who makes you better too? Who encourages you to be a better version of yourself?
Well, it's why it's so important that the internal work comes first. You really aren't, most people are just not open to these kinds of relationships. They shut them down pretty quickly. Like most people just kind of shut off to a lot of the people that are walking by them in any given day just by giving them a glance. And like you kind of look at like different age bracket, different socioeconomic bracket, like different race, like whatever it is. And we notice differences all the time and we try to find what's comfortable. And that's just what our mind is doing because it wants us to feel good and comfortable. And as long as we follow that, our lives stay pretty unfulfilling. Like this is what so many people are experiencing. And this is like what they give us. They give us the echo chamber that we desire. That's what an algorithm is creating my comfortable little bubble. And so the algorithm's a great kind of microcosm of this shift that's happening culturally, where we're just moving more towards prioritizing comfort and pleasure. And, you know, some of these weird relationships are uncomfortable at first, and they're not interactions that we're used to having and things like that. But that's all just noise.
Yeah.
And we can move through those things to find something deeper and more beautiful. But as long as we're wrapped up in our minds and not open to things and unwilling to like just change anything about ourselves because we're unwilling to experience discomfort, we're pretty fucked. So we have to be able to sit with ourselves and be able to look at these things.
Yeah. And also another like cultural thing that I've noticed with Gen Z is the whole needing to fit into an aesthetic thing, because the algorithm wants it. You know, it's beneficial to the algorithm. If you kind of identify as goth or something, I'll use that as an example. The algorithm will push more of that content, but you can apply this to anything. So like, you know, younger people, I think it seems, feel a stronger desire to fit into an identity, which happens to, you know, bode really well for companies who are trying to sell you things and who insist that buying things helps you to fit into an identity. If you are goth, you know, in the 80s, maybe you would have made stuff out of safety pins and, you know, DIY'd stuff. Now the algorithm pushes it and you can just click the link in a TikTok shop to buy all the like stuff that fits the vibe. So I don't know. It's weird because now counterculture doesn't even look like counterculture back in the day. I don't even think at this point in time it has like a distinguishable look to it. It's not like the hippie movement or the punk rockers or anything like that. But I think counterculture is at this point, this is just me, but is at this point and will continue to be more about like getting offline, getting into community, building community. And real community looks like people of different ages, people with different belief systems. And I'm not talking about being friends with fascists. I'm talking about, you know, people are going to think differently than you. They should, like with that major exception. I mean, they should be from different parts of the world. They should be from different backgrounds. It's healthy. It's good, you know? It's good to get outside your bubble. That's what counterculture is going to continue to be.
In terms of Gen Z and even millennials to some extent, like this is a changing world. Like the eternally online kind of thing is new. It's still, the internet's like 40 or 50 years old, and the internet is constant, and we have an attention economy now. We're just bought in. And so these things are getting worse because now we have pretty active, like real-time marketing to give us what we want. Like this is the age of the mind in many ways, because we can constantly kind of get feedback and we can constantly get dopamine extremely quickly. Like that was not necessarily accessible at any other time. But I think some young people like Gen Z and millennials are also starting to see the drawbacks of that, which is what you're saying, which is just like, dang, like I am on my phone all the time. Like I'm having a really hard time being present. I can't even watch a movie without looking at my phone. Like I use my small screen to distract me from my big screen when I should be looking at my work screen, right? And people are starting to realize that this is ultimately extremely unfulfilling and that they're in a quagmire that is really hard to escape. But there are antidotes to this. And this is a lot of what we're talking about, which is just like sitting and realizing that this is just your mind, which has taken you away, and having some compassion for this experience and being in this moment and making a decision and just saying, do I want to continue to be a part of this, or would I rather make some other choices to kind of add some depth to my life? And that's important to me personally, is to like have a depth of experience. And I think it's important to everybody on a soul level. But if we're really wrapped up in our heads and we're really online and we're really all these things, like these thoughts are not even getting to us.
I'm older Gen Z. I worry about Gen Alpha and young Gen Z because you as a millennial and me as older Gen Z know what the world was like before this and remember what our attention spans were like. It will be interesting, I think, as we get further along. And, you know, I wonder if the younger people will see the value in getting space, because that's not an alternative they've really had access to.
The universe stays in balance, and it's always a pendulum. And the pendulum is swinging really high one way right now, and it always feels like it's going to stay forever super crazy. But it'll swing back. I mean, the universe seeks balance. And yeah, people, I hope, will move away from this in some way, shape, or form. I mean, there's always going to be at least pockets of communities who kind of reject the mainstream.
The counterculture, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's just a weird to call it a counterculture because it's, for me, what my soul desires.
But we're counterculture. You and me.
Identifying as counterculture is weird, right? Like, I'm not trying to create a counterculture with anything I say or do. I'm trying to create community and meaning and purpose. I'm not trying to I'm not living in defiance of what is. I'm just saying that I don't find that necessarily fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so I'm moving in a different direction. The counterculture is an identity. I have
agree.
to be like a countercultural icon, or I have to...
I mean, it's not like the hippies were just being hippies. It's not like they were, well, I guess some were probably like seeing it for what it was, which was a counterculture movement. I'm identifying something that I'm noticing. I'm not saying that I need to be, it's just what it is.
Well, I'm saying that existing in defiance is something that I did before, and it's something that was ultimately unfulfilling, because then defiance became my number one like character attribute, was just doing the opposite of what a culture told me to do. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I have social media, I do the things, but I'm not as into them. Like, my universe also exists in some sort of balance, and I'm not angry at the world the way I used to be. I'm extremely saddened by many of the things that are happening in the world, including this predicament, but I'm not out here to change the world. I'm out here to like try to produce kind of happiness and joy in spite of some of these things, and also living harmoniously with them.
Yeah, same. I don't feel defiant in my heart.
Yeah.
I just happen to make choices that happen to be in defiance. Like, that's very different than feeling defiant. You know what I mean? My goal, I guess, is if there is a way out of this, I'm going to find it. I am going to find it, and I'm bringing as many people as I can with me. I think that's my goal. I do feel something. I don't think it's defiance, though. I think it's like resolve. Yeah.
Yeah, resolve is good. Resolve is different. Like, I don't want people to think that they're getting into a counterculture. Like, the essence of these movements, or the essence of a movement within you, is like a groundswell of love and a groundswell of frustration too, with, you know, your current experience. But it's about your experience. It's not extrapolated to the entirety of humanity. When you talk about like, oh, it's just all so awful, the climate is going to shit, there's wars everywhere, you know, there's a genocide in the Middle East. When we start to externalize all of these problems, it becomes very, very disheartening, and we become almost submissive because it's all too much. We become all the more defiant, and we become extremely vocal, and we become extremely like adamant protesters, which is fine. It's great to like express our our community voice and things like that, and express these frustrations. But it's mostly about if you want to make a change in your life and turning inwards. Like that is still outside of me.
Like the Michael Jackson song.
Yeah, it starts with the man in the mirror. Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change.
Yeah,
baby.
It's a beautiful sentiment. And so many of us are unwilling to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go change everybody else in the world and make them like me. And as long as there's this belief that I have it right and they have it wrong, we're never going to get anywhere. The more spiritual perspective on this is that it's all suffering, right? And when you're saying I want freedom and I want to take as many people with me, like that's what I experience too. But I come from a pretty blanket understanding that we're all in some form of suffering.
Yes.
Right? And this is what samsara in Buddhism gives us. This is kind of the essence of original sin and being cast from God in Christianity.
Yeah.
Like many of these religions also have this concept, which is just that the experience of alienation on this planet is painful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a fascist or a communist. Like we are all suffering.
Absolutely. And I think you would argue this too. The people who are inflicting the most pain are in the most suffering, probably.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I do have great compassion for some of these people for some reason, having gone down this path. Like I feel their pain in their hatred.
Yeah.
And I feel their hatred too, but it's not something that arises the same sentiment it used to. Like I used to be full of spite and hate. And I used to look to the news as somewhere to put my spite and my hate. But when I did sit with myself and really start to reflect, like the spite and the hate were a lot for myself. And I was looking for a place to put that. The world is my mirror. If I'm bad internally and I'm feeling extremely negative, and I don't like myself and I don't like the choices I've been making, then I will criticize everything else in the world. And every single person I meet is going to rub me the wrong way. Every single news event is going to be the worst thing that's happened in the world. Every single event that happens in my life is going to be horrible. And it's far more about me, right? And I'm experiencing the flip side of this much more in my life, which is like bad things, ostensibly or objectively, can happen in my life where I can meet really difficult people. And I'm still having a pleasant experience and I'm still learning from those experiences and I'm still filled with joy and compassion through those experiences. And I don't go to bed super angry and mad and depressed like I used to. So yes, it does start with the man in the mirror. And the more people will do that, the more the world will change. Yeah. But it's one by one. And the solutions that are being offered by the public figures in our communities and in our society are bunk because they don't focus on anything substantial. Just kind of talk about the rage and the hate and how we need to dial it down. Like if we really want to dial that down, let's change ourselves. Like let's work on our self-reflection because you start to change everybody around you.
Totally.
Everybody around me has noticed changes in me and has come to me. I mean, the more I change and the more I grow, like the more people seek me out for their own personal change and their own personal growth. We're all so much more connected than we've ever realized, but our mind would just have us believe we're not.
Yeah.
That they're extremely different from me and that I hate them and that I never want to talk to them and that I'm going to go live over here. And as long as we're in that kind of predicament, we're going nowhere. Mm-hmm. And we can't change ourselves as long as we hold on to the hate in our hearts.
Totally. Imagine how different the world would be if our leaders looked at the man in the mirror, so to speak. And I saw that great tweet recently. It really made the rounds on the internet, and I'll try to quote it. It was talking about how unfortunate it is that leftists haven't done some of the work to kind of like detangle themselves from, how did they phrase it? Protestantism, I suppose. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of black and white thinking and a lot of like almost witch hunting, and it's a shame. Obviously, I do land somewhere on the political spectrum. I do land pretty far left on the political spectrum. There's a lot of error that I see on that side too. Error in thinking.
I mean, absolutely. I've changed a lot over the past few years and my political beliefs haven't changed, but the sentiment behind them has changed. I always believed that the left was at least morally superior, that there was a value of equality and tolerance and all of these things that I identified with. And I just wanted that to be me. And I said, no, I believe in these things. I believe. But belief is a matter of the mind. It wasn't a feeling.
Mhm.
Like now I share some of those same beliefs, but mostly because I believe they're more compassionate responses
Yeah.
to the things that are happening in the world. And that I actually come from a genuine place of wanting people to do better and experience less financial struggle and less oppression and all of these things. Right. And that's more what we need to channel. That's coming from the love in my heart,
Yeah.
not kind of the spite in my head.
The spite in your head and the moral superiority of standing on your soapbox and knowing you're a better person than your rival that you're kind of debating. You know what I mean?
Self-righteousness is still so much self, right? Anything that starts with self is just thinking about me all the time. The world has a lot of problems for me to be able to point to and say that this is the reason why I'm sad. This is the reason why I'm angry. Like when I look at myself, I start to realize that that most of these things are in myself, and that what I'm mad at out there is what I'm mad at in here. And what I'm depressed about out there is what I'm depressed about in my heart. But B, I start to realize that my personal experience is also very different, that I have a lot of beauty in my life. I have people who care about me. I have a lot going on that is beautiful. And there is a lot to enjoy in these personal connections and things. And so I stopped kind of identifying with my worldview and I started identifying with my soul. And that's made a huge difference in my daily experience.
Yeah.
I'm still frustrated about those things. I'm still extremely saddened by so many of the things that are going on in the world, but I'm not pointing to them as the reason why I'm doing so poorly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does not take away from our beautiful experiences, of which there are many. Even if you're going through a really rough time, it's just, there's always stuff to point to in your own life that is beautiful. I had kind of an interesting conversation on Thanksgiving with someone, and they were like, I just don't even feel like I can enjoy all this with all the suffering in the world. I said something in response, something along the lines of, if I were a person suffering, I think it would make me more mad that you weren't enjoying it. I mean, it's true that we're incredibly privileged. I also think it's our responsibility to enjoy it in a way, and also to do all that we can to change the circumstances of the world if we can. But why not enjoy it? I don't know.
When this is an extremely powerful idea. This idea of the world being a mirror. And a lot of people don't realize how much they're giving away about themselves when they start talking about the world. Because the most negative person is kind of the most fear-riddled person and maybe the person who's suffering the most. We have this experience with people all the time, and we don't like their negativity. And they are criticizing everybody in the room for something, or they're criticizing everything in the world for something. That usually, and always, is an expression of how they feel about themselves. So the more a person is taking issue with the things in their world, the more they have issues with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I have deep compassion for that. I've stopped seeing their negativity as just dragging me down, and more as an expression of their pain. Similarly, if somebody's pretty happy-go-lucky and enjoying a lot of the things in their world, like, they might have a pretty good internal world. And we can take this to ourselves. Like, this is something that we should constantly be asking ourselves, is when I'm having an issue with somebody or something, like, what is it triggering within me?
I feel like sometimes when people are happy-go-lucky, it is a form of avoidance, though,
Yeah.
It's a failure to look at it deeply and then integrate. Sometimes it depends, but it's important to look at it, really look at it, and then deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Attachment and dissociation can look a little similar, but are very different. And there are a lot of dissociated people who just play happy. You can tell when it's genuine and when it isn't. Your soul knows that when you see that in a person, but also when you see it in you. I mean, something also to be aware of in you is like, am I just shut down to this and just trying really hard not to take issue with this? Or am I actually okay?
Yeah.
This is all suffering. This is the fundamental truth of Buddhism. It's the fundamental truth of any spiritual tradition, is that it's extremely hard to be human. In the age of TikTok or before, it's always been extremely difficult to be a human being and be a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah, you're either scrolling on TikTok or you're out working the combine. It's all horrible. It's literally point to a time in human history where it was glorious. I mean, I'm picturing the elites of any given time. You might think that they're just in full pleasure all the time, but really they're not either, man. They are not. So we have to get out of this. And we have to do the work and then hope that we kind of fade into nothingness at the end, I suppose.
The things aren't the problem, right? You could be working Combine or be on TikTok. And if you're okay and you're connected and your spiritual life is good, it's all fine, right? It's never about the things.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the beginning, which is just like, stop treating relationships like they're about the thing. Stop treating life like it's about the things. It's about the growth and it's about the connection. And the more you cultivate connection, the more the experience grows and the deeper the experience gets. We're not here to have a pleasurable experience. We're here to have the deepest human experience with all sorts of pain. But as long as I stay engaged, I'm growing and I find purpose and meaning.
Yeah. We need to learn to run the Combine like we're doing puja. You know, we need to do everything like as if we're doing it for God.
I mean, we can talk about this aspect of things on another level, but the essence of karma yoga, which is what you're talking about, which is dedicating my every thought and my every experience and effort to God, is that it's not about me. And this is what some of this liberation is realizing that the things that are happening in my world don't have to affect me and they're not about me.
Yeah.
Labor sucks because it's tied to my income. I could be criticized or judged for all of it at any given time, and it could be taken away from me at any time. Like, that's all about me and my security and my prosperity. And that's scary when it's mine. And so the practice is to say, this is all God's, and God's going to do with it what he will or she will. And I'm just going to do my best, right? And that's liberating because then I'm just doing it. There's no thoughts of, am I doing it right? Could I be doing it better? What do they think of me? Like, no, I'm just doing this. And that's the mental liberation that I seek. It's just, I know that I'm suffering mostly in my mind with these questions and I'm creating pain for myself. So when I do this for a higher purpose, I cut that out. Not making a podcast to get famous, right? That would be far too painful.
We aren't?
No, I don't know.
Just kidding.
Right? Like, if I was just doing that, this would be an extremely painful experience because I would have to try and impress all the time. Like, no, I'm trying to be helpful and I'm trying to do this for a higher purpose, which liberates me to say what I think is going to be most helpful, not what I think is going to be the best.
Yeah, if we were trying to be famous, we'd be probably going at this a little bit differently. It's also, it's just more selfless, you know, when you start giving stuff up to anything, to something bigger than you. It's just like, you stop being at the forefront of your mind and something bigger than you continues to be at the forefront of your mind. And you can apply that in practical situations too. So, you know, when you're brushing your teeth and you're like, I'm doing this for God, I'm dedicating this to God. Or in other words, that's kind of another way of saying I'm doing this for the good of all beings everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's what God is.
Yeah, I'm not. Well,
on a deeper level.
This is chop wood, carry water, right? What do you do before enlightenment? You chop wood and carry water while suffering through chopping wood and carrying water and thinking about how heavy the water is and how awful it is to chop this wood. And then after enlightenment, you do the exact same thing. You chop wood and you carry water, but you don't grapple with the experience of the water being heavy or the wood being hard to chop.
Yeah, I think that's so true. In my spiritual practice and in my experience, I really feel that I'm supposed to cultivate I'm supposed to do something well to the best of my abilities, but I'm supposed to release all expectations of the outcome. You know, I feel like everything I do, if I start to kind of get a little type A and obsessive, it just implodes. You know, like I was telling Connor this recently. I was doing the dishes and I was having a really stressful day and I was like leaving on a trip that day. And so I was trying to get everything ready. I just had like a tightness in my chest and just real anxiety and overwhelm. And so I was doing the dishes and like I finally finished. And then I was like, oh, I should dump the vase that's on my altar because it will be gross by the time I get back from my trip. And like I fell kind of in the kitchen, like I just tripped a little bit and I like dumped this dirty vase water all over every single dish that I just hand washed and was about to dry and put away. And I was like, that's exactly it. When we like get really caught up in the doing and the expectation, I think it just like falls apart in our hands. When we do something to the best of our ability and we feel personal responsibility without personal expectation, if that makes sense, that's the closest I think I can describe it, is knowing that we have to show up, but taking like the ego out of it. That's my goal because we do still have to live in this world, or at least I do. I'm not a monk. I'm not living in a cave. I have to do the dishes. So I just I have to do the dishes, and I kind of have to release the expectation of how fast I'm going to get them done, how well I'm going to do things. When I was in college, I remember a couple papers I wrote that I really genuinely tried on, and I didn't get a great grade, or I didn't get the grade that I was expecting. All you can do is your best, and then you let it go.
That's the power of the connection.
Yeah.
That's why there does need to be some work that goes into your connection.
Mm-hmm.
Is because it frees you up to do that, which is to do your best without being a perfectionist about it, to do your best and leave it behind. How many of us suffer from perfectionism? And the way perfectionism at least manifests for me is worry as soon as my eyes are open and worry as I'm going to sleep, while maybe having done something in the middle of the day that I'm now worried if I did right. Right? That's what happens when I own these things. And I say, this is my work product. This is going to be an accurate reflection of who I am. And therefore it has to be really good. And that's what perfectionism is to me. And when I have a connection with something that's much bigger than me, I go, I did my best. And I can confidently say that. And I wake up in the morning and I just go say, I'm going to do my best at whatever this is. And then I'm going to do my best to let it go when I'm done. Right. And that's just far more comfortable. And I have a belief and a faith when I have that connection that it's going to work out the way it needs to in a certain way, whether that be good or bad. Right.
Yeah.
It'll still be okay.
Yeah.
Because I have my connection.
And all of a sudden you can feel good about the grade that is lower than you were kind of anticipating for the amount of work you put in, because it's what more can you do? You do that and you release it. And that's all you can do.
Well, it's just compassion for your experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and, when you stop thinking about the things, you need to be less perfect at the things. When you're more concerned about the self, which is concerned with the things, you start to grow in far less tangible ways,
mm-hmm.
and you start to change.
Mm-hmm.
And the breadth of your experience grows. And all of a sudden, you've done some work on yourself, and you don't have to be perfect at everything anymore. And that's what was causing you the most suffering in the first place.
I still do have to be perfect. This is definitely
practice.
An ongoing practice for me.
Practice. But it's beautiful. I mean, every single day.
Practice makes perfect.
No.
Yeah.
Progress. Practice makes progress. It never has to be perfect. Never will be. You just keep moving down the way. You just keep trudging along.
Yeah.
And the more I just realize that I'm just trudging along, even a step back doesn't feel so bad. And I just stay growing, alone or in a relationship. Just grow, grow, grow. That's all the goal is.
Beautiful. Well, that's all we have time for today, but thank you so much for listening. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at The Fall to Grace. We love to answer your questions there, so feel free to send them in. And if you would give us a rate and review, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
Yes.